Welcome to the I Wish I Felt Better podcast. We believe that true health and well-being begin right in the soil of your own backyard. Join us as we explore the world of bamboos, food forests, and nutrition, sharing practical insights on how to cultivate a healthier lifestyle. Let's head into the garden.
Treats! Unexpected treats!
What kind of unexpected treats do we have?
Oh! Hey, Lonnie.
Hey, Shanti.
How you doing?
Right?
Good.
Dealing with this?
Yeah, I know. But look! Look!
This is the field trip podcast right here.
This is a field trip podcast.
I'm right here.
Stuff.
So here is what we're looking at.
Yeah.
What is very interesting is the other day in one of my videos, I picked this piece of mustard up right here.
Uh-huh.
It was frozen solid.
Yeah.
All of this was frozen solid.
Yeah.
And I cracked it in my hand. It was really quite depressing.
Yeah.
But what's neat is that all that mustard, it's fine.
Yeah.
It froze solid and it bounced right back.
It has a lot of water in it. So, guess what else froze solid that we can do something with?
What's that?
Papayas.
Papayas.
Yeah, papayas.
Tons of papayas.
And green bananas.
They're all black.
Black bananas.
They're all black now.
Blacky black.
Yeah, there's a good example right there of frozen solid
But you know what?
bananas. I have a feeling we're about to learn something here. What
You
are
can.
we about to learn here about these gnarly looking
Look.
bananas?
Look on the inside. You can cook these.
What's it taste like? They were really close to ripening.
What?
They any good?
Oh yeah. But it's gonna be better cooked because they got frozen. So, yeah, that's okay. But you can cook them and they'd be better. We should have harvested them before, but we can't get to everything.
I should have done a lot of things.
I know, me too. Hey, I wasn't even here, so it was.
So today's episode that we're going to do here.
So that happens too. Like sometimes you can't be here, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you can't be here
You just
when
don't-
things happen, and also you can't get to everything. It's okay, right?
It is
It's okay because look at this.
It's funny, a lot of people were commenting on saying like, oh, you should have harvested it before it froze solid. Like, I guess you guys aren't familiar with mustard.
You don't have to.
You don't have to.
It's very forgiving.
Yeah, it really is.
So that's lovely. Because guess what? Mustard is my favorite ferment other than green papaya, which is also super yummy.
So are
And-
we going to learn to ferment today?
Yeah.
On the podcast?
On the podcast.
Oh my God.
That's amazing. Because if you don't know how to ferment, you can ferment just about everything. In fact, for lunch today, I had not a ferment, but one thing is like where I take organ meat when I get gifted organ meat from my clients, and I made desiccated organ meat, and that stuff will last in your refrigerator for forever. And I'll just take like a couple of tablespoons and mix that into fermented rutabaga or fermented mustard or something, and that's lunch. Ta-da! Done and done. So we're gonna ferment some mustard because this is so easy and so much fun and a great kid activity too. Kids love doing this because they like doing hands-on stuff. So I'll trade.
Into the kitchen we go.
Into the kitchen. All right, here we go.
Mustard.
Mustard! Look at that!
I love it for so many things, but you've talked about this so many times.
Yeah.
So I want to know your method. I want to see your method.
Oh my
Why
gosh.
you love this. So,
Well, and the things about fermenting is that you are getting all these probiotics and all the probiotics from the soil, from the plant, but also from you, right? So it's important. All of these things coming together and the microbes and all of that.
let's just go. So here we are in the kitchen. We're doing a rinse. Quick rinse.
Honestly, you don't have to do this. Seriously, you don't have to do this.
It's pretty clean.
It's pretty clean, but also like You know, microbes are on the food that's in our garden, which is why it's important to eat stuff out of your garden, because you are re-inoculating your gut biome. And by having everything, like we've been sold this idea, like everything has to be clean in order to be safe, and we've gone too far in that direction. And so actually eating stuff out of your garden without ever doing that, regardless of whether it has, you know, a little bit of something on it, is fine. That's actually beneficial to your body, your immune system, your gut biome, everything. We're designed for that. So
when I wash, it's for sand.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to eat sand.
Because it's gritty.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. That's why we wash.
You know,
we wash for eliminate sand.
Sometimes when you get towards the end of mustard season and you look on the back of a leaf, right now they're gorgeous, but on the back of the leaf you'll start to see aphids, right? All over the place.
Lots of them.
You can actually just wash those off. Otherwise it's high protein mustard. With a lot of B12, because by the way, insects have a lot of B12 in their exoskeletons. So
it doesn't
by
bother me.
accident eat them, you're getting your B12 content if you're a vegan.
This is my baby right here.
Okay.
This is my kitchen knife that I hack all my greens with.
I mean, look at these leaves. Like this is the big mustard.
Yeah, Florida broadleaf.
Yeah. And this one will reseed itself, as all mustards do.
All of that was reseed.
You will barely see it when it gets hot, right? But then it'll start to come back again. And right now it's in full on.
I think we're about 6 months on, 6 months off with mustard.
And to me, I like all of it, like to use all of it, because this stalk here is really nice and crunchy. Right? So it gives it like a good texture. But like the thing about mustard ferments is like you don't lose any of the texture when you do it. Like it's such a thick leaf, it doesn't turn into mush. So it's like you can ferment it and you still got something that has a nice texture to it. My favorite way to eat mustard after it's fermented is just to just even simply adding it to like rice, because the flavor of it, you've got 50% less on the spiciness, so it's not as intense on the spiciness, but then you add in like the sour and the salty, and it's an incredible blend. Like,
we're looking at like 10 days, right?
Yeah, but I've left these and had them in the back of my shelf, and they're fine 2 years later.
2 years.
Easily. Shelf stable.
Chilling.
Yeah. I mean, ferments, as long as they're done properly, ferments can last indefinitely. There's nothing wrong with them. They're live foods.
That's a
So
beautiful thing.
they can last, on your shelf and be shelf stable. We fermented everything before we had refrigeration, exactly for that reason, right? And crocks and things like that. So that is the whole point. So it's not like the whole thing with expiration dates is that we have to, by law, have an expiration date on things, and it has to be less than 2 years. That's not that it means that under 2 years something is no longer good. For instance, bamboo tea, I actually prefer, like, if you qualified it as like aged tea, right? Then we're like aged wine or aged whiskey. Like that we know has higher value. But like sometimes things have higher value when they are older. But by law we have to have an expiration date. So doesn't mean it's bad, it just means that's what it has to be. Okay, here's our mustard greens.
Over to the cutting board.
Lonnie's gonna chop and chop.
Lonnie's gonna take over. Organize this camera. You guys are going on a little seasickness ride as I organize. So I do a lot of this with all the greens we have out here. A lot of Neanderthal chopping. I go for thin slices one direction, and then I go the exact opposite direction. I just grid pattern all these greens and it gets everything chopped up nice. It's how I make my salads. It's how I do, make soups. It's how we cut up all of this. Because we're always dealing with so much of it in so much bulk. So I'll go that way, And then I turn this way. So it is nice to have a large knife. Large, sharp, good handle. Find the knife you love, and you will find it's the one you reach for every single time. For me, it's this one. I don't know why. It's just the one that's been in our cabinet for forever. Don't even know where it came from. I think I absorbed it in the marriage. Probably came out of Kelly's kitchen before we lived together. So that was the stems. Here's the top parts of the leaves. And now we'll go this way. Oh, smell it? Smells so good.
So spicy.
All different directions and angles, and none of this is going to matter. Now we have ready to work greens. That could be salad, it could be soups, it could be ferment, it can be whatever. It's hacked up and ready to use. Now, what do you need? Because this is
Sometimes, if I don't have a bowl,
there we go.
I'll just use a pot. Anything works. Like, you don't have to get real fussy about what you have to have. I have literally done this with no knife, and just like whatever I have available. Like, you don't have to be super crazy about it. So, I think we overthink things, you know, a little bit on like how to do this. And so, you can look up formulas. But the hard part is like knowing how much stuff you have. So, and you can get crazy on your sea salt, or you can just use whatever salt you have. I like using sea salt. I love using all sorts of sea salts. Like, I mix them up. I get Celtic sea salt, I get black sea salt, I get Himalayan sea salt. I like it, you know. Have fun with your salts for sure. And then we're gonna do it with the salt. I like to go until it's just a little salty. So I just keep adding it in until I think it's gonna be enough. And then after
Trial and error. Straight trial.
Well, yeah, what I do is I add some salt in. I start to get it where it's, because it's got to get this dark green and start to turn kind of liquidy. And so once it does that, then I can taste it. And I want the flavor of it to be slightly salty, a little bit over what is kind of my salt comfort level, if that makes sense. You can't go too salty because salt is a preservative. And what's nice about this is that if you do this with kids and you get them all in there with their hands and stuff, they love doing this. This is like such a great exercise for kids and for other people, because here's the other thing is like, this is really good for older people to do with their arthritis and being able to get your hands in something that is exercising them in a way that feels good, plus you're making your food, plus you're connecting to your food, right? So you see how it's starting to get smaller and also starting to liquefy?
Yeah, water's starting to come out of it.
And the water's starting to come out of it. All ferments in general are going to do this when you ferment. So favorite things to ferment in the winter that are having no problems right this second, all of your brassicas, right? So rutabagas, turnips, do the entire thing. Just add a little bit more. And then this is gonna, you just keep massaging it. And that's part of, I mean, part of this is like you connecting to the food you grow that is feeding back into you as a human connection. So, ooh, it's looking good now.
Let's see, how we looking? Looking all gooey.
Yeah, that's what we want.
Yeah, it looks like you steamed it.
Right. So this would be like what you could do too is like you can use it like this as a raw wilted salad. I mean, think about like a raw wilted kale salad
Let me in there.
that
There we go.
you would make this way.
See what we got here.
So it should just taste a little on the salty side.
Slightly salty.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Good, like tasty.
Yeah, a little salty. So keep in mind, whatever you're going to add this to, you're not going to add salt, right? So you're going to do like rice or something bland or other vegetables or, you know, potatoes or whatever it is that you're adding it to. This is your flavor. This is your salt. So you're using it for that. Oh, it's coming now.
Oh, look at that. Look at all
That's
that
what you
liquid
want.
pouring out of there.
Yeah, so that's what you want to do. And so fermenting your green papayas, fermenting, I mean, these are like, this is your superfood right here. Amazing, amazing. Free probiotics. You cannot buy a probiotic that has as much nutrition in it as this, as much like activity.
And
as
then
the
of
ones
course,
you can make.
then there's the sulforaphane coming through on all the brassicas, which this one is really, really important. Mustard is really important in that conversion because of its enzyme content, its myrosinase content.
So
Very
mustard
high.
is the original vegetable that, and it's the original brassica. They're all vegetables, but it literally means vegetable. And it's what all the other brassicas came from. So all of your, you know, cauliflower, broccoli, all that, that is from mustard, the original.
Yep.
Look at that. The OG.
Yeah, look at all that gooing out.
Yeah.
So we're going to pack that down in some glass
Yep.
jars.
So now we need a mason jar or a glass jar. It really doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. You can just use like whatever glass thing you have left over. If you don't have glass, you can use a crock pot or something. Just no plastic.
Well, at this place, we have a mountain of glass.
Right. I collect glass as well. So
This is Ball Jar City over here at the Reed Farm.
yay.
We have millions of these.
Yep.
So there's a
Perfect.
quart jar.
Yep.
And what do you like to use? Cheesecloth and rubber band?
Whatever I have. Sometimes I can just, I mean, you can even just use a paper towel, but oftentimes I'll just use you know, keep different pieces of cloth and I'll just use that. It's, again, you don't have to really overthink it. You just have to cover it.
But since we're fermenting nerds, we have glass ones.
Yeah, I don't have that one. I don't know if that's gonna fit in here though. It looks a little small.
Yeah, they go in there.
We do?
Oh, that's what they're for.
No, it's too small.
Those are
For the
ferment.
little ones.
Those are fermenting weights.
Oh, for the weight.
Yeah.
Got it.
They go on top just to keep the
Yeah.
keep all the material down below
Often
the
I
liquid.
use rocks for that. I also keep a plethora of rocks around.
Rocks. Clean rocks.
Clean the rocks. Put them on top. So ideally, you're not going to have to add much liquid. Maybe a little bit here and there. What'll happen is, originally you might, you know, to start with, you know, you see I'm packing this down.
They can't see anything. They're running away and dropping stuff.
Okay.
Getting out some
So
cheesecloth.
I'm packing this down so that the liquid is on top. And that's because anything above the liquid does have a tendency to grow stuff on it, right? That would be like setting stuff out. So I want it below the liquid, which is what the weight is for. If you don't have a fancy weight like Lonnie does, you can use just about anything. And sometimes what people like to do is take a whole leaf and put it on top and then put the weight on.
So many ways to do it.
You know, you can take kind of something like that, and then you can put that, and then you see how the liquid, so if that top
Let's
piece,
show everybody
this is so
how
cute.
that.
Those are really cute. Okay, so that top leaf on top is like holding all the cut pieces under, but this is solidly packed, and we added no liquid. You can tell we added no liquid.
And that weight, if you notice, you see that liquid?
Yeah.
It is fully on top. The weight is to keep that thing from growing mold.
Exactly. Now, you can do this and put this on. I also do that. I don't put it on tightly. I put it on loosely because this is going to start to bubble.
You just burp it?
Yeah, and well, honestly, because oftentimes I just set it and forget it, is I'll put this in something like a bowl like this or some other thing or a piece of, this is what plastic is good for if you have leftover plastic around your house. You can put it in something just because it's going to start to bubble. When it starts to bubble, you're going to want to make sure that that liquid is staying. Yeah.
These here are some carrots that we grew, and my friend Derek fermented these.
Ooh.
That was a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
They are so good.
Yeah.
Derek he really wanted to like do this fermented carrots thing like as
You
business.
can ferment anything.
But these are like, he really nailed it with his carrots.
Oh my gosh. That's delicious. The
They're
other
really
thing you
top-notch.
can do refrigerator pickles. Like this kind of looks like a refrigerator pickle. But if you like bought a pickle from somebody that you really liked their seasoning, don't throw it away. Like save
All
that.
vegetables.
Just add stuff to it, you know? Because it's really yummy. So,
Yeah, those are really solid.
mhm.
So we can do that. We can also do this. You can come right in over top of it with cheesecloth
Yeah.
and a rubber band. Works lovely.
Yeah.
The way Derek made these, actually, he just burped them every day.
Yeah. But like if you leave and don't come back for a week, just like let it so that it doesn't, you know.
So it doesn't explode.
Yeah. It'll kind of bubble out a little bit. You'll still probably have enough liquid. You may need to add more if it bubbles out too much and you don't get to it, but that's how I do it. I've never really had a problem with that. And if you're not on it all the time, like you're at work or whatever, just put it in something so that it doesn't make a mess all over the place.
Look
So,
at that beautiful
but
bottle.
look at the color, it's
Yeah,
so
the color is
gorgeous.
amazing.
Oh my gosh. But that's it. That's the whole thing. And so that simple formula, salt, vegetable, hands.
And what?
That's
10
it.
minutes?
That's it. That's the whole thing. And you can do that with just about anything. My favorites that you can get a lot of at this time of year are your brassicas, you know, your mustards. There's mustard growing wild on the side of the road, even now after all those frosts.
There's mustard
So-
growing wild at the Reed farm.
Yeah, there's mustard growing wild.
So there's a quart of sauerkraut.
Yeah.
That's free sauerkraut. I
Yeah.
didn't plant it. I did nothing to grow it. All we did was rip some out of the ground,
Yeah.
bring it in here. You saw what we did. That's the
Yeah.
game.
So, and Lonnie and I are huge, we're going to say this one more time, papayas, green papayas. Like you can grow, if all of you lost all your papayas, it's okay because from seed to like, I don't know, 30 pounds of papaya in 9 months, if
Yeah.
you just halfway treat it with love, you can take all those green papayas as they come, like a grocery store, like you can go out and pick them and ferment them. That has papain, which has your enzyme that's for your digestive system. There's more papain in green papayas than there are in ripe papayas. And when you ferment them, you're just adding so much more onto that digestive goodness, right? So that's your gut microbiome that is healing everything. And that is the seat of your immune system. So all of those things start with some very simple things. And then if I have to tell you like a prescription, you're going to do 1 tablespoon a day, minimum, of some fermented food. That's the prescription.
Prescription.
Yeah. Prescription diet. 1 tablespoon. Of course you can do more. My favorite go-to is to add this as just as the flavor of what I'm eating. So I'm adding in all these vegetables from outside, my nopales, my whatever, I'm eating. And then I'm putting this in to give it something to taste good, right? Because it's just so yummy. So
if you don't,
that's my go-to.
if anyone that is watching this doesn't know, there's wild yeast on that mustard. That's what's creating the ferment. There's wild yeast. There's yeast all around us. It's swirling around. Sorry,
It's in my hands.
It's everywhere.
Too. Even washed hands.
It is everywhere. It's in the air around us right now. There are so many strains of wild yeast. That's why things do that. It's how the world turns. There's yeast everywhere.
Well, and also when we talk about going, you travel and you are being cultured. It's like you're being cultured by having these experiences, right? But you're being cultured by the cultures of their food and their ferments and all of that of the space that you're going to that is different from where we live, because on our farms we're being cultured in here, but then I come to you and I'm being inoculated with other things. I go to somewhere else and Puerto Rico, I'm being inoculated with their cultures, right? And all of that diversity is stability for my whole immune system, because who knows what bug is going to come at me in 2 weeks or whatever.
And if you've dealt with a lot of them,
the stronger my immune system is, the more resistance I have to it taking me out. Yeah.
That's why that's a prescription.
Right.
I don't know. We can even say that. We're going to get flagged. We're not doctors. We're not doctors. We're just farmers.
Right. I'm just saying, if I have to say, people are like,
call it a suggestion.
With my mother-in-law, I have to tell her, I'm like, 1 tablespoon a day minimum is what you need, right? Like, I eat way more. Sometimes I'll eat a half a jar in a sitting, so because I personally like it, and it brings a lot of flavor to my food.
So sauerkraut, kimchi.
Yeah, sauerkraut is cabbage. But kimchi is like the art of fermenting, where you start to add other things in.
Make it spicy.
Well, also think like when people do rutabagas or turnips or things, they don't use the leaves. They're like, oh, you just use the root. But like a daikon radish, you have leaf and the radish. You have turnip, you have the leaf and the turnip. Rutabagas, you have the leaf and the rutabaga. Like when I ferment rutabagas, I do it all together, the leaves and the root together, because why not?
Daikon is a favorite of the animals. The leaves.
The leaves.
They love the leaves. The rabbits especially. They are picky. There's things they love. There's things they don't. Daikon, they lose their minds for. They love the leaves. They won't eat the roots.
Animals know.
But they love those leaves.
Spicy.
Yeah, they love the leaves.
That's interesting. Yeah, so you can really play, and then you can play with the art. Like a kimchi is playing with the art of fermenting. That's like, I'm going to add some of this. Like one time I had Sarah from St. Pete Ferments, who, by the way, is an amazing fermenter. Like she is an artist fermenter. Fermenters who really get into it become artists in food. And so she did this one where I took her bamboo shoots, and then I took her bamboo shoot powder, and she did this whole blend that actually included like powder in there, this flour, bamboo flour, and to give it like a thickness. And then she blended that with the bamboo shoots, and then she put some other vegetables in, and she did like a bamboo kimchi that was incredible. Like it was incredible, and it was so well thought through. Everything she did was like it was like, of course you can do this, but you didn't even think about, like, I never even would have thought about putting flour in a ferment, so
there's so much to do.
So this is just the basis, and from here just take it to whatever level you want to, right? You can do fruit, that gives you that alcohol content, but you can do with the salt, you can do grapes. Have you ever had fermented grapes with a lacto ferment?
Wine?
No, not that. Not that one. The other one. So you can do a salt lacto ferment with grapes, and they're like salty, tangy, kind of grapey.
I have a bunch of big bag muscadines in the freezer.
So you can do a lacto ferment with fruit, you can do it with all sorts of things. So
I tend to look at that as more desserty,
Yeah, I
winey,
know.
but
I
then
don't
when you
wanna-
look at vegetables, it's more like dinner.
Yeah.
Like fill me up.
Yeah.
kind of food.
Yeah. I
There's
agree.
we have so much still, even though this freeze just came through and blasted this place. There's food. There's
Yeah.
so much, and this is like gold food. This is some. of the
Well, and
best.
so what I'll do is like oftentimes, because this is how I look at it, is like I'll go out and I'll pick mustard, but while I'm walking around, like I don't know if you notice, I notice while I'm walking around, is like the dollar weed is still bright green. You know, the cucumber weed is bright green. You know, like there's a bunch of stuff that's bright green.
You know what
You just
actually?
pick that and add it in.
You know what walked right through this? The garlic chives. We got to
Garlic
do a
chives.
full ferment with the garlic chives. I saw a whole video of a guy a long time ago that he was just taking them right off at ground level, cleaning them, chopping them, and fermenting garlic chives.
Oh.
And we got to go do that. I have a whole boat full of that
Yeah.
stuff. I have
Yeah.
a boat. It's a raised bed.
Literally, but
It's a boat, but it's a raised bed. But it is like full, like the whole thing. Jack's actually planted it years ago
yeah.
of garlic chives, and it's
Garlic
like
chives.
way whack, right to the top,
Yeah.
and the cold didn't touch it.
No. Yeah, so adding in all of your weeds that are out there while you're walking to your mustard, or if you're stopping on the side of the road to pick mustard that's just growing wild, and also like put the seed pods in. Like once we get to the seed pods, those little spicy green beans
Oh,
are
the-
so yummy.
Radish seed pods are
Oh,
the best.
They're like spicy little green beans. They're like teeny little green seeds in there. They're just like incredible. The flowers are also beautiful.
Sweet
and
delicate and delicious. Yeah,
I put
Bok
them in
choy.
a ferment.
bok choy flowers
Ugh.
are my favorites.
They're so
They're
good.
my
And they hold
favorites.
up really well in ferments. They don't really melt. Like their brassicas are tough. Like they're
There's
tough.
still a mountain of cilantro up there.
Yeah.
It sat here. It was like Sunday, and it was like, 21 degrees is lovely.
It's lovely. It's just like being in, I don't know, the mountains again.
Yeah, the cilantro enjoyed it very much. The arugula did fine. We have tons of arugula.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's still a lot up there.
Yeah. But yeah, and so all that you can add in some of those things like cilantro, spinach, parsley. They can get a little funky.
A little bitey.
So, well, they just get a little mushy. Some
Yeah.
things will get a little mushy. So, you know, start with things that are easy. Things that are really crunchy, like the green papaya. Green papaya is like,
Green
oh my
papaya.
gosh. I mean, seriously, just like fill your whole shelf with green. And honestly, you don't even have to grow papayas. You just have to know somebody who does.
Yeah.
Because inevitably will go to places and people have tons of green papayas. I'm like, what are you doing with your papayas? So they're like, nothing. We never eat them. I'm like,
Yes.
it's
too
the
many.
best medicine there is. Like,
There's
it's
just so many,
free,
though.
free medicine everywhere.
We had
It's like-
so many after the freeze.
Yeah,
Jack said to
freeze.
me the other day, he's like, what papaya trees can I cut down? I'm like, everything except papayazilla, because I want to see what
Papayazilla,
she's going to
yeah.
do naturally. But, like, go ahead, cut them down, because they're not going to do anything on that top growth, and they're going to regenerate from the bottoms.
Yeah.
As long as they don't completely melt all the way to the ground, which
Yeah,
21 degrees here is pretty rough. They might go a little low, but
we'll see.
I will have papayas popping up in springtime.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Like, I have thrown seeds everywhere.
Well, and papaya is one of those ones that you may occasionally, I don't often see it, but you may occasionally see it on the side of the road. I personally, if I'm eating a ripe papaya, will throw seeds out into areas just to try and get, you know,
And they
everybody
will.
please do that. Please just grow papayas everywhere because they don't last that long. They'll either freeze or get knocked over in a hurricane, but you can get full-on papaya. Like, wouldn't it be amazing to just be driving down the road and there's just papayas everywhere? Like, it's just like a thing.
When I took this one down right there off the deck, it had 58 fruits on it.
Yeah.
It was
It's
like
incredible.
above the house, and
Isn't
it was.
it? And each one of those weighs like 3 pounds.
Yeah, it probably had a couple hundred pounds of fruit.
Yeah.
It was super heavy. And those were the big ones, like
Yeah.
that weigh like 7 or 8 pounds
Yeah.
each.
And if you don't like ripe papayas, just eat them green.
Yeah, eat them green.
So that's first ferment to go to. Right now, go to your mustards or your brassicas. If you're not growing any of those
Kales,
things,
bok
you
choy.
can get them at the farmer's market
Yeah.
easily right now because people have so much mustard and nobody ever buys it. So like, just be like, hey, can I get some mustard from you?
Swiss chard,
Yeah.
all the different kales.
Yep.
The Ethiopian kale is still pounding
Oh,
away. That stuff will be amazing because it's like mustard meets collard.
Yeah.
Texture's great.
Yeah.
The bite is there.
Yeah.
You
Mix
know,
and match.
any
Mix
of
and
your
match.
wintertime greens.
Yep.
will work
And
for
throw
us.
your weeds in there while you're at it. Throw your weeds. Like, you know, if you're not growing anything, don't worry about it. Like, get your stuff from the farmer's market and walk out into your lawn if you're not spraying it and add in what you have.
Yeah, Bidens,
You know,
dollar weed,
add in some bamboo.
bamboo.
You can ferment bamboo leaves, and that's like that's a healing beverage right there. Lacto ferment on a bamboo leaf. So lots of options. There's no lack of options of what to ferment. And you just saw how easy it is to ferment. If you get confused about it, there's about 1,000,001 videos out there on fermenting.
But
So,
there's a simple one that we
yeah,
just did
that's
from
the easiest.
from soil to jar.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't get any simpler than
Right. And it's just such an incredible input into your body. Like, you will feel the difference if you do add this in on a regular basis.
Especially with the papaya. The papaya's good.
Oh,
It's
I
so
mean,
good.
the amount of medicine in a green papaya once it's fermented is off the chains.
I need to show this. This
Yeah.
is my little. This is our little tool right here. This is our
yeah.
our baby right here. This is my chopper. It opens up like that. The little catch is underneath there. I may as well just show the whole shebang. This is Pampered Chef.
Oh yeah.
Pampered Chef does make some amazing stuff. So it's got this little chute right here. We just cut the pieces of papaya so they can fit right down in there, and you just chop it up. And it has dials on the back right there that I can make. That's little baby Charlie Bear. I can make shredded papaya, I can make julienne, I can make slices. You can use it for all different kinds of vegetables. But this thing is amazing. It is high quality. Worth getting one of these. Pampered Chef chopper.
Yeah. Or just a knife.
Or a knife.
Or just your hands.
This just quickens the process.
Especially with papayas.
I can buzz through a papaya and
Yeah.
create julienne little shreds very, very quickly.
It is nicer to eat that way.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get really lazy and I just cut out these chunks.
That's what I do.
I'm kind of a lazy cook and I'm a lazy gardener, okay? I just run out of a lot of time. So, yeah, there is no wrong way. Just have fun with it and add it in, and you can ferment tomatoes even. You can do
We're
these
saving seeds from
tomatoes.
that one.
I know, those are the best ones. All right,
So there we go.
yep.
Fermented
Easy.
mustard.
Mustard. Oh, so good. So good.
And well, next time we post when this is ready,
Yeah, we'll show you.
We'll eat it.
Yeah. And
We'll eat
show
it
you
on
what
camera.
looks like. Yay!
Yay!
All right.
All right, guys. Later.
Subscribe to our channel.
Like our videos.
Comment below.
Share wide and far.
Eat better.
Feel better.
See you next time.